Hello everyone, welcome to Creative Training Solutions and myself Mohan. We are at session 4 of L&T Infotech problem solving. If you haven't watched our previous series on L&T Infotech problem solving, I have included the link in description, just have a look at it. Now entering into first question of the session. 4 liters of water is mixed in certain amount of pure milk whose cost is rupees 3 per liter. If the dishonest milkman earns a profit of rupees 20% by selling the mixer at initial price, then what is the quantity of pure milk obtained by the customer? Okay, now assume the scenario, the milkman have some liters of milk. He adds 4 liters of water in the milk and the cost price of each liter is 3 rupees, right? So the cost price of each liter of the milk is 3 rupees. And by selling the mixer, he gains a 12 rupees profit, so that he is getting a 20% extra. Now you have to find the initial quantity of milk in the mixer. Okay, now he mixes 4 liter of water, right? We know the cost price of each liter of milk is 3 rupees. So definitely he will sell each liter of mixer for 3 rupees. So what is the selling price of this 4 liter of water? 4 into 3, 12 rupees, right? So he sold this water for 12 rupees actually. By selling this water, that is by selling this water in the mixer for 12 rupees, he will get a 20% profit. So you can say this 12 rupees is nothing but 20%, right? So if 20% is 12 rupees, find the cost price. So cost price is 100%. So 100% is, so when you cross multiply, you will get the 100% equivalent to 60 rupees. So this 60 rupees is nothing but that milk in the mixer, right? So this 100% is the milk in that mixer. So he have 60 rupees of milk in that mixer. Okay, now what is the cost price of each liter of milk? This is 3 rupees, right? So 60 by 3, 20 liters. So he actually have 20 liters of milk. With it, he adds 4 liters of water and he sells each liter for rupees 3, so that he is getting a 20% profit. So this is the actual concept behind this problem. So answer for this question is 20 liters. Next question, the bases of a hemisphere and a cone are equal. If their heights are also equal, then the ratio between their curved surface area is dash. So you have to find the curved surface area of hemisphere as well as cone. Okay, assume you have a hemisphere like this. So this one is a hemisphere. And here you have a cone. Now the hint given for us is the bases of a hemisphere and cone are equal. See, the base of the hemisphere and the cone are equal. So the radius of both hemisphere and cone will be same. If their heights are also equal, so when you take the cone, you can call the height as h. But when you take the hemisphere, you can call the height as radius only, because when you connect from the center point to any perimeter of the sphere, you can call it only as the radius, right? So if radius and height are also same, this height and radius will also be same, right? So height and radius of the cone will also be same. Now you have to find the ratio of curved surface area of the hemisphere and cone. So what is the curved surface area of hemisphere? We call it as 2 pi r square. So 2 pi r square is the curved surface area of the hemisphere, and pi rl is the curved surface area of the cone. Okay, now this point is called as radius, and here you have height, and this one is called as slant height, that is L, right? So here you don't have a problem, you have slant height L, but here h and r both are same only, right? Because height and radius are same. So here you have radius, and this radius is similar to height of the cone. So we don't need to worry, here this height is equivalent to radius only. So when you use the Pythagoras theorem, you can easily find the slant height. So what is Pythagoras theorem? L square equal to h square plus r square. So instead of h square, you can substitute r square itself, r square plus r square. So L equivalent to square root of 2r, right? So instead of L, you can substitute root 2r. So 2 pi r square is to pi r into root 2r. So pi and pi cancel, and r square cancel. So you have 2 is to root 2. Again, you can write it as root 2 into root 2 is 2 is to root 2. So cancel it. You have root 2 is to 1. So curved surface area of the hemisphere and cone is in the ratio root 2 is to 1. So answer for this question is option B. Now moving to question number 3. A hemispherical bowl is made of 0.5 cm thick steel. Inner radius of the bowl is 4 cm. The volume of steel used in making the bowl is dash. So you have a hemispherical bowl like this. Hemispherical bowl is made of 0.5 centimeter thick steel. So this hemispherical bowl is this much thick, and inner radius of the bowl is 4 centimeter. So from this part to this part it is 4 centimeter. So what will be the outer radius? So outer radius will be this to edge. So this will be 4.5 centimeter. Now we have to find volume of the steel used in making the bowl. So you have to find this part. Now the actual volume of the hemisphere is 4 by 3 pi r cube. 4 by 3 pi r cube. Right. So I mean it's actually 2 by 3 pi r cube. So 4 by 3 pi r cube is the volume of the full sphere. So volume of the hemisphere is 2 by 3 pi r cube. Okay. So 2 by 3 pi r cube is nothing but volume of the hemisphere. Okay. Now 2 by 3 pi. Now when you consider this outer radius, right, from middle to this outer radius, it is 4.5 centimeter. So instead of radius you can write it as 4.5 centimeter cube, right, and the inner radius is 4, right. So 2 by 3 pi 4 cube. Now actually you need only this part, right. So actually you need only this part, right. You actually need only this volume. So subtract the outer radius minus inner radius, you will get exactly, you know, the material, right, volume of this part. So when we subtract, you can take this 2 by 3 pi outside. So 4.5 into 4.5 into 4.5, you get 91.125 minus what is 4 cube? It's 64, right. So when you subtract this 91.125 from 64, you get 27.125. So when you solve this, you will get the value equivalent to 56.83 centimeter cube. That is option B. So answer for this question is option B. It's really simple, right? Okay. Now moving to question number 4. The width of the rectangle is 10 meter and its area is 150 square meter. If the length of the rectangle is increased, then its new area is 4 by 3 times of the original area. What is the new perimeter of the rectangle? Okay, assume you have a rectangle like this. So this is actually a rectangle. So you have a rectangle like this, and width of the rectangle is 10 meter and its area is 150 square meter. So what is area? Length into breadth, right? So here length into breadth 10 is equivalent to 150. So this length will be equivalent to 15 here now. Now if length of the rectangle is increased, then new area will be 4 by 3 times of the original area. Now the actual area is 150. So if you increased 4 by 5th of this actual area, how much we get? So 4 by 5th of 150 is nothing but 200. Alright, so you haven't increased, you haven't touched the part of width, but you have increasing only length, right? So length into 10 equivalent to 200. So the new length is equal to how much? So new length will be equal to 20. Now they are asking us to find the perimeter of the rectangle now, new perimeter, right? Now the length is 20 and breadth is 10. Right, so 2 into L plus B, we get 60 meter. So 2 into L plus B, so length is 20 and breadth is 10. So 2 into L plus B, we get 60 meter. So 60 meter is the perimeter of the new triangle. So this becomes our answer. Now question number 5. The monthly rent of a shop of dimension 80 feet into 22 feet is rupees 2244. What is the annual rent per square feet of this shop? Okay. Now the monthly rent of a shop of dimension 18 feet into 22 feet. Okay, so this area is in the shape of rectangle. So the total area will be 18 into 22. So actually I haven't multiplied. So 18 into 22 is nothing but area of the length into breadth is the area of the rectangle. And for this area he pays 2244. So what is the amount he paid for a single square feet? So it is 2244 upon 18 into 22, right? So when we cancel, you get 102. Again, while cancelling, you get 102 by 18, you get 51 by 9. So 51 by 9 is 17 by 3 square feet. So he pays 17 by 3 rupees per square feet. So 17 by 3 rupees per square feet. Okay, now our question is, what is the annual rent per square feet of the shop? So annual rent, that is for 12 months. So 17 by 3 into 12. So 17 into 4 you get 68. So 68 rupees is the annual amount he spent for per square feet in this shop. Now question number 6. A person travels from X to Y and vice versa. How long will it take to travel both the ways by bus? And you have the first statement, it takes 15 hours in traveling from X to Y by train and returning by bus. The distance between two places is 360 kilometer. And third statement, he can save 3 hours if he travels both the ways by train. So this question is based on data sufficiency. Which of the following 3 statements is sufficient to answer the question? Right? Okay, now if you take the first statement, right, so you have the place X to Y, right? So place X to Y. Right, from second statement you can say the distance between two places is 360 kilometer. Now we can leave as it is. Now it takes 15 kilometer in traveling from X to Y by train and returning by bus. So total time is 15 hours while traveling from X to Y in train and returning back in bus. So 15 equal to T plus B. And when you take the third statement, he can save 3 hours if he travels both the ways by train. So if he can save 3 hours means he will take only 12 hours while taking both the sides by train. So 2t equal to 12. So 1t equal to 6, right? So you can say while traveling in train he take only 6 hours, right? So while traveling in train he takes only 6 hours. So if you substitute this in first equation, right? So you can take this one is first equation and this one is second equation. If you substitute this in first equation, you will get bus timing equal to 9 hours. So from X to Y or Y to X he will take 9 hours in bus. Now how long will it take to travel both the ways by bus? So both the ways by bus means it is 2 times B. So 2 times B, it is 18 hours. So actually you don't need this much calculation. They are asking through which of the following statement you can get the answer. Right, by looking the first statement and third statement itself, you can easily say from this you can get the answer. So answer for this question is option 3, A and C together, option 3. A and C together are sufficient to answer the question. Now question number 7. While selling a watch, a shopkeeper gives a discount of 5%. If he gives a discount of 7%, he earns rupees 15 less than a profit. The market price of the watch is dash. Okay, now we can consider the market price of the watch as 100%. From this 100%, he gives a discount of 5%. If he gives a discount of 7%, okay, first he gives a discount of 5%, right? That means he have to sell it for only 95% of the market price. But instead of this 5%, if he gives a discount of 7%, he earns rupees 15 less than profit, right? So he earns rupees 15 less as profit. So 7% lesser means he have to sell it only for 93%. So this is actually how many percentage lesser? 2% lesser. Because of this 2% lesser, he gets a 15 rupees lesser profit. Okay, now if 2% is 15, what is 100%? 100% is nothing but 750, right? So 2 into 50 you get 100, 15 into 50 you get 750. Now we already fixed the 100% is market price of the article. So market price of the article is rupees 750 only. So this problem is belong to profit and loss. If you haven't watched our videos on profit and loss, I have included the link in description. Have a look at it. Now moving to question number 8. An agent buys a TV listed at rupees 10,000 and gets 10% and 20% as successive discounts. He spends 10% on his cost price on transport. At what price should he sell the TV set to earn a profit of 10%? Now the listed price of the TV is 10,000 rupees, right? So that is market price. So from this market price he gets 2 successive discount. First one is 10%. So from this first he gets a 10% discount. That means he have to pay only 90% of this 10,000. From this he will get a 20% discount. So he have to pay only 80% of the remaining amount. So when we solve this, it is 9 into 8, 72. So 7200. So 7,200 rupees is sufficient to purchase the TV. So cost price of the TV is 7,200. Now again he spends 10% on the cost price on transport. So what is 10% of the 7,200? So 10% of 7,200 is nothing but 720 rupees, right? So he pays 720 rupees extra for transport. So actually he spends 7,920 rupees, right? So he spends 7,920 rupees as the total cost price of the TV. Now our question is, at what price should he sell the TV to earn a profit of 10%? So from this he have to get a 10% profit, right? So from the 7,920 he have to get a 10% extra. That means he have to sell it for 792 rupees extra, because this 10% is nothing but 792 rupees of this 7,920, right? So he have to sell it for how much? 8,712 rupees. So 8,712 rupees is the actual price that the agent have to give it for customer to gain a 10% profit, right? Because here 10% of 7,200 is 720. And here 10% of 7,920 is 792. So here actual selling price would be 8,712 rupees. So that he will get a 10% profit, right? Now question number 9. On an article with market price rupees 20,000, a customer has a choice between 3 successive discount of 20%, 20% and 10%, and 3 successive discount of 40%, 55% and 5%. By choosing the better offer, he can save dash. Okay, the question is simple. First, from the market price 20,000, we have to find the 3 successive discounts of 20%, 20% and 10%. So first, if he gets a 20% discount, he have to pay only 80%. From another 20%, that is another 80%. And again he is getting a 10% discount. That means he have to pay remaining 90%. So when you cancel it, how much we get? So when we cancel it, you get 11,520 rupees, right? Now for the same 20,000 rupees market price, if he gets a 3 successive discount of 40%, 5% and 5%. So first, if he gets a 40% discount, he have to pay only 60% of the market price. Again he gets a 5% from this, so he have to pay only 95% of it. So again he gets a 5%, so again he have to pay a 95% of it. So when we solve it, we get 10,830 rupees. See, at the first case he have to pay 11,520. At second case he have to pay 10,830. So what is the difference? So difference is 690 rupees, right? So which is the best deal? This is actually the best deal. Second one is the best deal. So in this deal he can save 690 rupees from the discount. So answer for this question is 690. Now question number 10. A fan is listed at rupees 750 with a discount of 20%. What additional discount must be offered to the customer to bring the net price rupees 540? So what is the listed price of fan? It is 750 rupees. From this he is getting a 20% discount, right? So from this he is getting a 20% discount. So what is 20% of 750? 150 rupees, right? So the customer pays only 600 rupees. Now our question is, what additional discount must be offered to the customer to bring the net price to 540 rupees? Now the customer have to pay only 540 rupees, right? So customer have to pay only 540 rupees. For that he have to offer how much additional discount? This is our question. See, from 750 to 540 rupees, what is the discounted price? 750 minus 540, it is 210 rupees. So he have to give this 210 rupees discount only from 570 rupees, right? So when we cancel this, how much we get? So while cancelling we get 28%, right? So 28% is the actual discount he have to give, but he is giving only 20%. Now you have to find the additional discount that must be offered. So additionally he have to offer another 8%, because he have to give 28%, but he gave only 20%. So he have to give an additional 8% discount to bring the net price to 540 rupees. So answer for this question is 8%, right? Now question number 11. The average of 3 consecutive odd numbers is 12. The average of 3 consecutive odd numbers is 12 more than 1/3 of the first of these numbers. What is the last of the 3 numbers? So you have 3 consecutive odd numbers and its average is equivalent to 12 more than 1/3 of first of these 3 numbers. Okay, now if you keep the first number as x, second number will be x plus 2 because they are consecutive odd numbers. For example, if the first number is 1, second number will be 1 plus 2, 3, and third number will be x plus 4, and average of these three numbers is equivalent to 12 more than means 12 plus 1/3 of the first number. What is 1/3 of x? It is x by 3. Now you have to find last number, that is x plus 4, right? Largest of these three numbers. Now it is 3x plus 6 equivalent to 3 equivalent to 36 plus x divided by 3. So 3 get cancelled. Now 2x equal to 30. So you can write x equal to 15. So x equal to 15 is nothing but the first number. Now you have to find last of these three numbers. So last of the three number is x plus 4. So 15 plus 4 you get 19. So answer for this question is 19. Now question number 12. If 90% of A equal to 30% of B and B equal to x percentage of A, then the value of x is dash. So this question is based on simplification. Now you can write 90% of A equal to 30% of B in the following way. So 90% of A equal to 30% of B can be written as A equal to 30 by 90 into B, because whenever you have the word of, you can write it as into, right? So 90 into A equal to 30 into B. So you can write A equal to 30 by 90 into B, or you can write A is 1/3 of B, right? So you can write it as A equal to 1/3 of B. When you cancel this, A equal to 1/3 of B. And next you have B equal to x percentage of A. So you can write B equal to x percentage is x by 100. X by 100 into A, right? So B is x percentage of A. Now instead of A you can substitute 1 by 3 of B, right? So instead of A you can substitute 1/3 of B. So B equivalent to x by 100 into 1/3 of B. So B get cancelled. Now you can write it as x equal to 300. Now what exactly you need is the value of x only. So value of x is equivalent to 300. So answer for this question is option 2. Now question number 13. What is the greatest number of 4 digits that when divided by any of these numbers 6, 9, 12, 17 leaves a remainder 2? So you have to divide a number, greatest 4 digit number, by 6, 9, 12 and 17, and that should leave a remainder 2. So answer lies in LCM, right? So find the LCM of 6, 9, 12, 17. We know the shortcut to find LCM, right? So you have to find the next multiple of 17, or I have already included the LCM video in description. Just have a look at it. So you have the shortcut to find LCM. So here the LCM of 6, 9, 12 and 17 is 612. So LCM of these 4 numbers is 612. Now what is the greatest number of 4 digits that when divided by any of these numbers? So what is the greatest number that we know? We know the greatest 4 digit number is 9999. So the greatest 4 digit number that we know is 9999. So divide this 9999 by 612, right? So it's 1 time 612. So it's 3879. So in 6th table, 6 into 612 you get 2736. So 207. Okay, now you get 207 as the remainder. Because of this 207, this 9999 is not perfectly divisible by 612. So subtract this 207 from 9999. We get 9792. Okay, now this 9792 is the greatest 4 digit number that is perfectly divisible by 612. It will not give any remainder. So if 9792 is perfectly divisible by 612, this number will obviously divisible by 6, 9, 12 and 17 separately. But our question is, it have to give the remainder 2. If it have to give the remainder 2, what we have to do, you have to add plus 2 with this 9792, so that you get 9794. So 9794 is the greatest 4 digit number which when divided by 6, 9, 12 and 17 gives the remainder 2. Now moving to question number 14. Excluding the stoppages, the speed of a bus is 64 km per hour, and including stoppages, the speed of the bus is 48 km per hour. For how many minutes does the bus stop per hour? Okay, excluding the stoppages, speed of the bus is 64 km per hour. Okay, in 1 hour the bus moves 64 kilometers because actual speed of the bus is 64 km per hour. So without any stoppages, in 1 hour the bus will go 64 kilometers in that one particular hour smoothly. And including the stoppages, the speed of the bus is 48 km per hour. So including the stoppages, the bus will travel only 48 km in 1 hour, but with the same speed 64 km per hour. So without stoppages, the bus could cover another 16 kilometers, right? Because of the stoppages, the bus lose 16 kilometers in travel. Now you have to find for how many minutes does the bus stop per hour. So you have to find for how many minutes the bus is in stoppages. So in stop. Okay, now the bus traveling for the 16 kilometers and the bus is in stoppage, both are same, right? Because of the stoppage only, the bus couldn't cover the 16 kilometers. So if you find how much time it will take by the bus to cover the 16 kilometer, will definitely be equivalent to the time taken by the bus in stoppage, right? So here the 16 kilometer is the distance and speed is 64 km per hour. So time is equivalent to distance by speed, 64. 16 by 64. So we get 1 by 4, right? So 1/4. So 1 by 4 of the hour. So you can convert it to minutes. So multiply this by 60. We get 20 minutes. Okay, the bus actually stopped for 20 minutes. That's the reason it couldn't cover the 16 more kilometers. So for answer for this question is the bus stopped 20 minutes. So moving to question number 15. Okay, little complex question. 12 men can complete any work in 36 days. 18 women can complete the same piece of work in 60 days. 8 men and 20 women work together for 20 days. If only the women were to complete the remaining work in 4 days, then how many women would be required? Okay. See, 12 men can complete any work in 36 days. 12 men can complete any work in 36 days. So the same work will be completed by 18 women in 60 days. So this is 18 women in 16 days. Now when we cancel this, you get 2 men equivalent to 5 women. Right, so when you cancel this, you get 2 men equivalent to 5 women. That is, 2 men's efficiency is equivalent to 5 women's efficiency. Now 8 men and 20 women working together for 20 days. Okay, before that, this 18 women working for 60 days will complete how much work? First we have to find that, right? So this 18 women is working for 16 days, right? So this 18 women working for 60 days will complete how many units of work? So 18 into 60, you get 1080. So this 18 women working for 60 days will complete 1080 women days work. Now these 8 men and 20 women working together only for 20 days. Now we have to find this 8 men and 20 women working for 20 days will complete how many units of this work, right? So substitute this 8 men and 20 women working for 20 days will complete how many units of work. So here you have 2 different variables, but you can convert the men's efficiency equivalent to women's efficiency. See, 2 men is equivalent to 5 women. So 8 men will be equivalent to how many women? So 8 into 5, yes, okay. So it's 2 into 4, 8, 5 into 4, 20 women, right? So instead of 8 men, you can substitute 20 women. So 20 plus 20, you get 40 women, right? So 40 into 20, it's 800 women days. Right, so these 8 men and 20 women working for 20 days will complete 800 women days work. So out of 1080 women days, these 8 men and 20 women working for 20 days completed 800 women days work. So remaining we have how much work to be completed? So while solving, we get 280 women days work are there. So this work need to be completed only by women in 4 days. Right, so in question it is given they have to complete this remaining work in 4 days. So how many women are needed? Okay, see, we totally have 280 women days work, and this work need to be completed in how many days? 4 days. Actually, how many women are needed? This is our question. How many women are needed? So while solving, you get the question mark value equivalent to, see, W cancel. So question mark equal to 280 by 4, you get 70 days. So in 70 days, the remaining work will be completed by the women's in 4 days. So answer for this question is 70 days. So I have included the link of time and work in description. If you want to watch, you can watch it. Now moving to question number 16. The difference between the compound interest and simple interest accrued on an amount of rupees 18,000 in 2 years is rupees 405. What is the rate of interest? So if you know the principle of simple and compound interest, this problem is really simple. We don't need to use any formula. So we already pursued, the short trick to find the difference between the simple and compound interest for 2 years. Okay, I will brief it one more time. Now before that, see, for first year, right, for first year, the interest obtained in simple and compound interest both will be equal, right? So in first year, the interest of both simple and compound interest will be equal. In second year only, there will be a variance, right? Because for first year compound interest, you will get another compound interest, right? For first year interest, you will get the interest for second year. That's the reason you will be getting the difference in simple and compound interest, right? So similarly, you are getting 405 rupees difference between the simple and compound interest at second year for 18,000 rupees. So you have to find what is this 405 for this 18,000 rupees. So this 405 is how many percentage of this 18,000 rupees, right? So when solving, you get 2.25 percentage. So this 405 is 2.25 percentage of this 18,000 rupees, right? So this 2.25 percentage is the interest for previous year interest, right? So this 2.25 is interest for the previous year interest. So how we can find? Okay, I will explain the trick now, so please listen it carefully. See, for 1 year, the rate of interest is 1%. Assume for 1 year, if the rate of interest is 1%. So in simple interest, what is the total simple interest for 2 years? For 1 year, if it is 1%, for 2 years, this will be 2%. So in compound interest, it will be 2.1%. In simple interest, for 1 year, if it is 2% per annum, in simple interest for 2 years, this will be 4%. In compound interest, that will be 4.04%. If it is 3% in simple interest, this will be, for 2 years, this will be 6%. In compound interest, that will be 6.09%. Okay, now if it is 10%, in simple interest for 1 year 10%, for 2 years this will be 20%. In compound interest, that will be 20.100%. So you can write it as 21%, right? So that is difference between simple and compound interest here is 1%. Here it is 0.9%. Here it is 0.4%. Here it is 0.1%. Now please listen it carefully. For 1 year, if it is 1%, for 2 years, it is 2.01%. Now look at the structure, 2.01, right? See, 1 into 2, you get 1. 1 square is 0.1. Similarly, if it is 4.04, 2 into 2, you get 4. 2 square, it is 0.4. And if it is 10%, right? So it's 20.100, right? So 10 into 2, 20. 10 square is 100. So it is 100. So you are writing it as 21. Now you are getting 2.25, right? So definitely the difference will be 225, right? So 225 is what? 15 square, right? So 15 square is 2.25, right? So for 1 year in simple interest, if it is 15%, for 2 years this will be 30%. In compound interest, you get 30.225. So you are writing it as 32.25. So for 15%, you will get this difference. So answer for this question is 15%, that is option 4. So if you understand the working principle of simple and compound interest, then you can solve this problem without any formulas. But if you go to book, they might give some different formulas, but you don't need any formulas for this. Even I have included the link of compound interest at description, you can have a look at it. Now moving to question number 17. A rectangular plot has a concrete path running inner side of the plot is used as a lawn, which has an area of 432 square meter. If the width of the path is 4 meter and length of the plot is greater than its breadth by 2 meter, what is area of the rectangular plot? So you have a rectangular plot like this. and if you take the breadth as B, the length will be 2 meter higher than the breadth. So you can write the length as B plus 2. And you have the inner plot, right? So you have the inner plot, and width of this lawn part is 4 meter. So this width is 4 meter, and area is given as 432 square meter. So this is 432 square meter, and this becomes the area of this plot. Okay, now if you take the breadth of the inner plot, this will be how much? Because in top you have 4 meter and in bottom you have another 4 meter. So 4 plus 4, 8 meter gone. So you can take the inner breadth as, so I am writing here, so this inner breadth can be written as B minus 8. So when we take the inner length, right, so this will be 2 higher comparing to the breadth, right? So you can write it as B minus 6. Okay, now the outer length, I mean the outer area minus inner area is equivalent to 432, right? So here what is the outer area? Length into breadth, that is B into B plus 2. So B into B plus 2 minus, so inner breadth and length is B minus 8 into B minus 6. So here this difference is equivalent to 432, right? So you can write equivalent to 432. So while solving we get B square plus 2B minus B square minus 6B minus 8B plus 6 into 8, 48 equivalent to 432. Now cancel it, you get, so however this B square and minus into plus, you get minus B square cancel. So you are left with 16B minus 48 equivalent to 432. So 16B equivalent to 480. So breadth is equivalent to 30. Okay, now if breadth is equivalent to 30, what is the length? Length is 32, right? So length will be equivalent to 32. Now you are supposed to find, okay, so I am writing this 32 here. So you are supposed to find the area of the rectangular plot. So 30 into 32, you get 960 meters square. So area of the rectangular plot is 960 meters square. So this becomes our answer. So you have to find the complete area of this rectangular plot, that is 960 meters square. So this becomes our answer. Now moving to question number 18. In 165 liters of mixture of milk and water, water is only 28%. The milkman sold 40 liters of this mixture, and then he added 30 liters of pure milk and 30 liters of pure water in the remaining mixture. What is the percentage of water in the final mixture? See, this problem is completely based on percentage. This is not actually mixture and alligation. This problem is completely based on, percentages. So initially we have 165 liters of mixture of milk and water. So we have water 28%. That means the remaining 72% will be milk. Now in this 165%, I mean in this 165 liters, 72% is milk and 28% is water. Now what is 72% of this 165? You get 118.3 liters of milk, and 28% of 165 is 46.2 liters of water, right? 46.2 liters of water. Now from this we are removing 40 liters of the mixture, right? Now if you remove 40 liters, right, so 28% will go from water and 72% will go from milk. So what is 28% of 40 liters? 11.2 liters, right? So 11.2 liters will go from water, right? 40 minus 11.2, you get 28.3 liters. So 28.3 liters will go from milk. So in this way only 40 liters will go from this mixture. So remaining we have 118.3 minus 28.3, 90 liters of milk, and here 46.2 minus 11.2, 35 liters of water. Now during this case we are adding 30 liters of pure milk. So when you add 30 liters of pure milk, now it becomes 120. And here you are adding 30 liters of pure water. So this becomes 48 liters. So totally we have 120 plus 48, 168 liters of mixture. Now you have to find percentage of water in the final mixture. So what is the water here? 48, right? So 48 is what percentage of 168? So while solving we get 28.57%. So we have 28.57% of water in the pure mixture. I mean in the final mixture. Now moving to question number 19. If a discount of 16% is given on the market price of the book, the publisher gains 20%. If the discount is increased to 20%, the gain percentage is dash. Okay, now you can fix the market price 1000. So you can fix any price as per your convenience. I am fixing 1000 rupees for my convenience. From this, he is giving a 16% discount. So what is 16% of 1000? 16% of 1000 is nothing but 160. So from this 1000 he is giving 160 rupees discount, so he have to sell it for 840 rupees, right? So that he gains a 20% profit. So even by selling for 840 rupees, from the cost price he gets a 20% profit, right? So if cost price is 100%, see, always the cost price is 100%. So if cost price is 100%, selling price will be 120%, right? So 120% is 840. Then what is 100%? 100% is 700. So cost price is 700 rupees, market price is 1000 rupees. From that he is giving a 16% discount, so that he is getting a 20% profit. Now if the discount is increased to 20%, so instead of giving a 16% discount, if he gives a 20% discount, so what is 20%? It is 200 rupees of this 1000, right? He have to sell it for 800 rupees. Now from cost price he get how much profit? This is our question. So he actually gets from 700 to 800, 100 rupees profit. Now this 100 rupees is how many percentage of the cost price? 700 rupees. So 100 by 7 in mixed fraction you can write it as 1 times 7, remainder it's 30, 4 times 28, remainder you have 2. So you can write it in mixed fraction like this, 14 2 by 7%. So he gets only 14 2 by 7% profit if he gives a discount of 20%. So without giving the discount of 20%, by giving it only for 16%, he will get a 20% profit. But answer for this question is option A, right? Option 1, 14 2 by 7%. Now moving to last question of the session. The average weight of 4 boys A, B, C and D is 75 kg. The fifth boy E is included and the average weight decreases by 4 kg. A is replaced by F. The weight of F is 6 kg more than E. Average weight decreases because of the replacement of A, and now the average weight is 72 kg. Find the weight of A. So the question is pretty big, but the concept is really simple. The concept is based on average. Okay, now the average weight of 4 boys A, B, C, D is 75 kg. So that is A plus B plus C plus D by 4 equal to 75. So what will be the sum? 75 into 4, you get 300 kg. Right, because if it is average, you will be writing it as A plus B plus C plus D divided by 4 equal to 75. So sum will be 4 into 75, you get 300 kg. So sum of these 4 boys is 300 kilogram. The fifth boy E is included and the average weight decreases by 4 kg. So when you add the fifth boy E, A plus B plus C plus D plus E, the average decreases by 4 kg. So initial average is 75. If average decreases by 4 kg, it will be only 71. Then what will be sum of weight of all these 5 boys? So we totally have 5 boys now, right? So you will be writing it as A plus B plus C plus D plus E divided by 5 equal to 71. So 5 into 71, you get 355 kg. Now you can easily say the weight of this boy E is 55 kg. Right, because A plus B plus C plus D is 300. So you can easily say when you substitute this 300 here, you will get E's weight equal to 55 kg. Now A is replaced by F. The weight of F is 6 kg more than E. Right, so weight of F is 6 kg more than E. So here you have the another hint. Weight of F is 6 kg more than E. So 55 plus 6, it is 61 kg. Now instead of A, you are replacing it with F. So it is F plus B plus C plus D plus E equal to, now the average weight decreases because of the replacement of A. Now the average weight is 72 kilogram. Now the average becomes 72 kilogram, means now totally have same 5 boys, right? So 72 into 5, you get 360, right? So now the total weight is 360 kilogram. Now we found the average weight of E is 55 and average weight of F is 61, right? Okay, now you totally have 2 equations here. So with these 2 equations, let's check whether we could find the weight of A or not. Okay. Okay, now just subtract the second equation and first equation, right? So just subtract this, first equation from second equation. Automatically B, C, D and E get cancelled. Now you are left with F minus A. So F minus A equal to 5 kilogram. Now you know the weight of F is 61 kilogram, right? So substitute this F as 61. So 61 minus A equal to 5. So A equivalent to 56. Now what you exactly need is the weight of A. So the weight of A is equivalent to 56 kilogram, right? So simply we are using the linear equation method. The concept is also simple, but the question is little big. Okay, I hope you understood all the problems of this session, right? So in upcoming session, I try to add some more problem related to L&T Infotech. Until that, stay connected with CareerD Training Solutions. So if you follow some other different shortcuts, please don't hesitate to put it on comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.